Well, good afternoon and welcome to Brightly's software webinar with Waco Independent School District. We're happy that you're all joined us today for this very interesting discussion. Today you will hear from Tim Bass, Sales Director at Brightly Software, and our guest, Alexander Villanueva, Director of Facilities and Maintenance at Waco Independent School District in Texas. The floor is all yours, Tim.
Thanks, Shruti, and thanks for all of our guests who are in attendance today. I'm excited for the story that Waco ISD and Alex have to tell today and to share with fellow facilities professionals. Alex Villanueva is the Director of Facilities and Maintenance at Waco ISD. We've gotten the pleasure to get to know Alex over the last several years, and he is a true rising star in the facilities profession. A little background, Waco ISD consists of about 27 schools overall. They serve 14,000 students roughly, and over those 27 schools, they have about 2.2 million square feet that they maintain. So with that, first, Alex, I want to congratulate you on your fast rise within Waco Independent School District. You started as a project manager in 2017, were promoted to Assistant Director of Facilities in 2020, and then to where you are now, Director of Facilities in 2022. Tell us a little bit about your journey there at Waco.
Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. So all of this started really in 2017, April. I applied for the position. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, born in New York, lived in Puerto Rico for about 35 to 40 years. From there, I applied for the position. I looked at it online, saw that I had some of the qualifications for it. So I did apply in April. May 29th, I was already reporting for my first day at work. Fell in love with Waco, had great things, offered great things. Team was great. I mean, when I got here, it was like, okay, I'm the new guy in town. I have to really pick it up because they were really taking care of business. So they were handling work orders. They had already established a pattern or a work type of system with the work order program that we had. It was not perfect, but we have had school do it at the time since 2003. We started really using that work order system more towards 2015, 2014, when it was not only used for printing out work orders. It was, they were capturing some of the data on it. From there, opportunities came by, but like I said, the reason these promotions kept coming was really because of the great team that I work alongside. So that's really the secret of all of that. I'm sorry, I can't.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's such a great story, and I appreciate you sharing it. And just like your story, Waco's facilities department has also a very incredible story to tell over the last 20 years. I know that they worked with some of our more legacy solutions like Maintenance Direct and PM Direct back in as early as 2003. Worked with us with events and energy, and even some of the capital planning over the year. You've recently made a transition to our modern CMMS platform, Asset Essentials. Tell us a little bit about why Waco decided to make that switch.
Okay, so in 2019, we did assist to the, back then it was School Dude University. And I think that was the year that Asset Essentials was coming out that quarter, if I'm not mistaken. It was presented to us. We did take a look at it. At the time, we were not really ready to do that transition. Years passed, and we'll get into a little bit more details of what that trip what we did accomplish with that, going to that event, that conference. But once we came back, you looked at the system that we had in place. Our new chief of operations, one of the things that she really wanted to accomplish was to have a better streamline of information going back and forth, especially with the way that the old system, you needed to basically want it to be a requester. And a lot of the weight was put on custodial, APs, assistant principals, and sometimes even the secretary was taking up that role of, okay, tell me what's wrong, and then we'll send out the work order, we'll create the work order. Well, the process was a little bit slow, and when I mean slow is, you could tell a custodial, hey, my room is hot. He turns around, 20 people just meet him in the hallway. By the time he actually makes his way back to his office to sit down, get on his computer, put the work order in, an hour, 2 hours could have gone by, and you're still, without the service. So that was one of the goals that we wanted to accomplish once we were looking into Asset Essentials, just because it gives you that communication flow. It also, the reporting of it is incredible. You could actually filter what you want that report to look like, the type of information and data that you're looking for, dashboard. So it was really an open system and means of communicating with the people that we serve, which is teachers and admin staff. So they know exactly when the work order has been assigned, when there's somebody that's in progress of work order, somebody has been dispatched. So once we looked at the system, it was really going to give us really the tools to accomplish what we wanted to, which was, have a better response time and, serve all those that, are the campus doing the real work.
Yeah, you mentioned in there the incredible reporting and data. You have accomplished some incredible things during your time. Obviously, we mentioned the promotions earlier, but things that you've actually accomplished that added value to the district themselves. One of those things that sticks out to my mind is the work that was done to secure a $355 million bond for new school buildings. Explain to us how you and your team were able to get that bond passed.
So really, a bond requires a lot of building blocks for it. One is the facilities condition assessment, just because you have to have that initial conversation with all stakeholders explaining, okay, these are the conditions of our buildings, but there's a lot of other things that, take place. So there's, politics involved, there is, conversations with the community. So there's a lot of things that really need to happen in order for a bond to be successful and to pass. The good thing was that everything else, we took care of, the facilities condition assessment, all the hard work of, talking to people, selling the bond was more on our superintendent's side, but she has already a lot of experience on that. So I'm glad that was on her side and not ours. But going back to the data. So in 2019, we did go to North Carolina. We were part of School Duke University at that point. And I remember that me and Kevin Hafer, he was a coordinator for maintenance at that time. We traveled, we went to the conference, and we were like kids in a candy store with just 10 cents, okay, we want that, we want this, we want that other thing. So one of the things that really attracted our attention was, so we were collecting good data for labor and for the equipment or materials that were used to addressing every single work order. But we were lacking, taking the actual work order and attaching it or making the connection with the actual asset. So we were recording a lot of data, but we were not really tracking the systems and the work that was done. So we looked at the service and at that option. It really, caught our attention. When we came back to Waco, the first thing we had was a conversation with our CFO at that point, and basically told her, hey, listen, we want to accomplish this. We really, here's the quote for it. Here's what we need. And, it's going to cost us $100, but we have a quarter. Can you, help us out and just budget the rest of the funding that we need to accomplish it? Well, the way that we sold it was, here's the benefits to it. I think every single time you have a need or you want to really accomplish something, you really have to let the stakeholders know what the benefit is and hold yourself accountable to it. It's not just, selling point where, well, we're going to get all these things and we're going to do all these wonderful things and then be like, okay, we got it, but it's too much work. We're really not going to engage in that. So once we had the facilities condition assessment done, we had the reports. I remember that year there was talk, like I said, in the past, when our superintendent came on board, one of the things and her goals was she looked at the facilities and said, we need to improve. That was one of her goals we really need to go off for a bond to address all these things because we can't handle that type of, budget impact as it is. So we had that data in place. We had all the inventory of our assets. So we had that initial building block that was needed to starting engaging with the conversation of, okay, here's the condition of our buildings, the accurate condition of our buildings. It wasn't not only were, our buildings are old. Everybody knew that, but really didn't, have the extent data at that point to really engage in those conversations. And here's the reason why. In one side, you're telling people, hey, our buildings really need to improve. But on the other side, you're telling them, well, our maintenance crew is really good and we're maintaining our buildings. So you see, there is sometimes people listen to that and it's like a contradiction of, okay, well, you're telling me that we need to replace those, but you're telling me that your team is, or the team that you have is really that good at maintaining buildings. So why would we need to replace? So that really allowed to engage in those conversations. Then COVID hit. And, it was really a big hit because we went from, okay, we're going to have these meetings and we're going to engage the community to, okay, you can't talk to anybody. You can't even look at them at that point because really people did not know, the extent of what COVID was, how to really get COVID. It was like, don't look at it. Don't look at anybody that's contagious. Don't, basically that connection was taking off. So that we started engaging online and there was not a big screen to basically hold everybody that was in those meetings. It was just, like crazy, but the information was flowing. The accurate information, the honest conversations were happening from our leaders. And they were engaging with the community. They were telling them, hey, listen, here's what's going on. Here's what we need. And there were only a few bonds that passed that year. We were one of the lucky ones. I really do want to believe it was a lot of the information and how it was related to the community. So we did pass that bond. And we're currently working. We already finished one middle school, and the construction department has done a great job on it. Carver, we delivered a middle school in record time. Now they're working on Tennyson Middle School, Waco High, Kendrick Elementary, and South Waco. We're doing an extended remodel to that building.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And I hear it every day, Alex, the data coming from a third party facilities consulting firm is so powerful because it helps clearly articulate the need in an unbiased way to, it arms your superintendent, your business managers, your CFOs with the information, the data they need to take it to the community, to take it to your funding source and display an accurate picture of, hey, this is what we are, and this is what we need and why we need it. And by having that real data, it just creates a really compelling ask, and the communities typically respond to good data.
It does.
So thanks for sharing that. Probably one of the most impressive things that I found about your story, Alex, is you guys were able to increase an insurance claim by $8 million. Like there was an event, the insurance company came back and said, all right, this is what we're going to provide. And you guys said, no, absolutely not. And you were able to increase their payback by $8 million. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe a little bit of the details about how that happened?
Yeah, so that was a big hit. We had invested some money, some funds into that school because we wanted it to look, nicer. We wanted it to be a really good atmosphere for our kids and for our staff. So we were, replacing doors. We had changed out some, a lot of aesthetics. The bathroom. So we had done a lot of, work to beautify that campus. Paint. And I remember I get a call around 3 o'clock in the morning. I get a text. Hey, I could be there in an hour. And, it was an odd text to get at that time. So I'm looking at the text, and then all of a sudden I hear the news that, that school was up in flames. So 2 weeks before school. So you can, imagine the chaos in my mind, which, it's basically going 100 miles per hour because I'm heading to Carver at 3 o'clock in the morning, just thinking, okay, what are we going to do? School is like 2 months from that, 2 weeks from now. What is it that we're going to do? So once I get to the school, I found the superintendent there, and I remember we were walking to her car. And, and she's saying, well, everything's going to be fine, and this is what we're thinking, and this is the plan, and everything is going to be fine. And, I just nodded my head like, yeah, we're going to do it. But, once she got in her car, I'm turning around, and I'm like, yeah, how are we going to do it? So, we started engaging with community. The city helped out a lot. The community rallied, behind us. And, we got kids into a campus within 2 weeks. We installed 2 portables. I mean, it just went 100 miles per hour, but we got it done. And kids were in school for the first day of school. We did not, delay the start. It was on time. From there came, the hard part. Okay, now we have to deal with, fire, going through the claim. At that point, I had some experience with claims, so there was more hail claim. And that sort of type of situations. So we started grabbing the data, and I started looking into it. Okay, what do I have to accomplish? So there were a few things that we needed to do. And I really wanted to have a replacement estimate on my side. We do have a great relationship with our insurance company. They did a lot of good work. So they brought in an estimator that went, through the buildings. In my case, I went with our data, and I started recreating spaces that were no longer there with the systems that were there, the building type, the years it was built, the amount of cost that would take in order to replace the building, the sections that were burned, because the school was not burned totally to the ground. It was probably 50 to 60% of the building. So the gym was still remaining. There was a back hallway of classrooms that was still there. So we started, engaging in those conversations. And I remember the first estimate that came in was around, I think, 13.5, if I'm not mistaken. But we started including other things. We started engaging with the insurance, and we started, okay, what are we allowed? Based on the contract that the agreement that I started reading says that we're allowed, to any type of expenditure on the maintenance side, as long as we have it, we have the data collected, we can, submit it in the claim. So we started basically including all the labor and materials that we had invested in order to get the school ready, in order to clean out the remains of the building, securing the area. So we started logging all those hours, all those materials, and it was included. Just that alone, I believe, was roughly a little bit over $50,000. But we were able to provide the data because we actually had, the work order system, and we had the systems that were there. So we went through that. We started submitting, our claim. We said, hey, listen, this is really, the amount. They were a little bit surprised because typically it's not typical for them to walk in, to a school district and for them to be told, hey, listen, I got my quote, here it is, and here's the reason why. And we went through it. All the data was there. So they actually, at the end, they agreed on the final payout amount, and that helped us, rebuild or build a new school, adding those funds to the bond.
Yeah, so by having that data, by having a complete asset register, you guys were able to kind of provide data to say that, hey, now this is actually more an accurate reflection of what it's going to take to get back to where we were. So that's incredible. Look, everyone on this call can relate to having limited staff. Again, another powerful piece of your story is like you were actually able to convince leadership to invest in a new preventative maintenance program, which included 6 new staff members. Quickly, how did you get leadership to invest in preventative maintenance and 6 new headcount?
Well, it's really, we go back to, one, having the honest conversation. And, the one thing with our CFO is you better have all your ducks in order. If you don't, she's going to start asking questions. And if she sees that you hesitate or you don't have, well, go back. Once you have all the information, then come back and we'll have a conversation. So once we collected all the data, everything was inside, was it within the system, the PM schedule was created. So once that PM schedule was created, it gave us the amount of hours that we needed to actually be able to provide that service and to be more proactive on that side. So in the past, the PM was, okay, whenever we have staff available, then we'll start doing PMs. And PM work was done. Don't get me wrong, it was done. It was just not a designated department with staff just for that purpose. So we, again, spoke with the CFO. She took that to leadership, explained about these are the amount of hours that we actually need. Here is the amount of staff that we would actually need if we were to do all these PM work orders. But we can start with these positions right now, and we can improve the health, the overall, health index of the district. So we started moving into being more proactive in that matter. And we started seeing, how work orders that before were an issue started to, go down. The same thing with the control system. So they started looking, at the units and through the control system, just verifying, okay, do we have an issue? Is there a temperature issue on one of the schools? Okay, I see it. It's not a control, so it's a mechanical issue. So we have to basically get to the school before it starts. They were coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning. They still do, and monitoring everything throughout the district. So we started, rolling on that mentality of extending the life cycle of our equipment, and we got the positions.
That's great. Alex, I feel like I could talk to you all day. Your story is just incredible, and what you have done within the Waco School District is just very powerful. I hope it's work that you're very proud of because you have made a significant impact. I do want to open the floor up for questions for Q&A if anyone has anything for Alex. And I will start with... Okay, so this one's more along the lines of some change management. So Alex, how did you get buy-in from your staff to learn a new system and also second piece of that, mobile application? Like how did you get them to go from paper to mobile?
Okay, that's a really good question. First of all, any accomplishment that you see or that you're hearing right now is because of the team. I just want to reiterate that because it's if you don't have a great team, working alongside you, you're really not going to be able to accomplish anything. So I just want to give their kudos because they're really, I mean, I would have more gray hair if they were not here. So saying that, so the one thing is really is being honest, is talking about, okay, what is it going to, how are we going to improve? So we did go mobile. So we did hand out Chromebooks to every single of our techs. So everybody has their computer touchscreen, so they can actually go out, they can close out work orders, they can put in the information right there. At first, it was a challenge, especially since when we were going through the implementation process. I started, okay, we can't close out a work order until we have all these fields, with added information. So, it wasn't a thing of we were not letting anybody, bypass or, well, I'm not going to put this in or, so, the whole process of closing out a work order, it started changing just because, we were used to a system that we were using since, like I said, 2003. I think it was a benefit. At first, there was some pushback as, well, we've been doing it for 20 years. Why do we have to change it? Which is, typical, don't get me wrong. I've even, been a little bit, I even given a little bit of pushback sometimes with changes, but it was having that honest conversation. Okay, here's the reason why. It is going to make us better. It is going to improve us. We just need to, everybody has to stick together, and we just have to hold everybody accountable. So that was, I think, the major thing, and they started seeing the changes and the improvements.
And for anyone in the audience, there's a Q&A section within the webinar platform here, so you guys can drop your questions. If we don't have time to get to those today, we will follow up and make sure your questions get answered by Alex afterwards. Question here is, Alex, if you had to give one piece of advice for a district looking to up their game from a facility standpoint, but they feel like there's just not enough funds. I think we can all relate to the feeling that there's just not enough funds to properly fuel facilities. What piece of advice would you provide to those people on the call today?
Well, the one thing that I would always say is look at industry standards. Not because we can get sometimes to that point, but you could use it as a benchmark to really see, okay, where are we? Where do we need to get? At least you have to really detail that roadmap of how do you get there. There's a lot of limitations that school districts have. Doesn't matter which state you're from. Just came from a conference, different states in there, different school districts. There was a lot of struggles. Funding was, a common issue, but you have to do something. You have to be intentional of doing something. And I know that sometimes funding is not available. For us, we have partnered with Brightly, and, we were fortunate to get the funding for it. But for somebody that is not there yet, every single time there's a vision or there is a plan put in place, the first thing that's going to come up is a need. How do I accomplish, the vision? So it's really, if you have to start with a spreadsheet and just knowing what you have in the district, the condition, create something, go out there, be intentional about it. I know that sometimes we're like, well, I don't have either the resources or the time. Well, make up the time, implement something. It doesn't have to, if you don't have funding for a software and all you have is a spreadsheet, well, then let me put a list of my assets. Let me create something that I could prove on that, with the resources that I have right now. Okay, with a spreadsheet, this is what I accomplished. Now, just imagine what I can accomplish if I actually had a software to back me up. So I think that's the biggest thing is see the resources that you have and get good at it. Just try to get buy-in from once you start going that route, people are going to follow, and you're going to get credibility when you ask for something.
That's great. Thank you. Last question that I see, and we can make it a quick one. How hard was the implementation process to upload all the data needed?
Okay, well, we already had, we had done one in 2019. I mean, we did a recent one just to update. It takes time. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of moving pieces. You're going to get the data. Third party comes out and collects everything. It's always good to have him walk with somebody that has knowledge of your buildings, just because they're going to tell you, hey, well, this building was built, and it's changed like 3 names, and the water comes here, and we have this issue here, and and they give them the feedback of that building. Once that collection, the data was collected, then it was put in a way that we could actually go through it and really see, okay, I don't like the name that was included on this type of system, or the way that you're labeling it. I want that number to be X because I want that system, and I'm going to go back to the HVAC just because that's majority of the components or building assets that you have are those. Well, I want it to be identified as it would in the controls, so I don't have to be trying to decipher which one is which. So you start just engaging, and you start building it in a way that really makes sense to you. Not necessarily everybody else, but it makes sense to you, and it works for you and your team. So at one point it's time consuming when you're trying to build it up. But afterwards, I mean, the payback is like you would do it again. Doesn't matter. Once you're seeing the results, you'd be like, man, if I had to do it, 3 or 4 times over, I would have done it. So
That's awesome. Well, Alex, thank you again so much for sharing your story. To the audience, thank you for being in attendance today and to learning more from a true pro within the industry. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to connect with Brightly on LinkedIn, or Alex on LinkedIn. And you can drop questions here in the platform that we're happy to answer for you afterwards. Alex, thanks again. We appreciate you being such a great strategic partner with us. And to everyone, we hope you have a great day, and look forward to connecting with you all in the near future.
bye. Thanks.
Brightly.